I can multiply one-digit numbers by multiples of 10 using strategies based on place value and operation properties. Multiples of 10. Well, those are all the products of multiplying by 10. So we're going to start there. Multiples of 10. What does that mean? It means like 1 times 10 equals 10. So 10 is a multiple of 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 times 10 is 30. So basically 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If you just continued to count by 10s, any number that you counted by is a multiple of 10. We're going to multiply one-digit numbers by that. So those are just one-digit numbers, 1 to 9. And then our strategies we're going to go over. So we want to multiply one-digit numbers 1 to 9 by multiples of 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. So you might be doing 2 times 50. Think of this like this. This is the strategy we're going to use. It says using strategies based on place value. We have 2 rows, 50 in each row. Think of these little place value blocks. This is a 10 block, and there are 10 little blocks. So if I were to say one of these equals 10, I made 2 rows with 5 in each row. It's really 50 in each row, and then 2. So you just got to kind of count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So 2 times 50 would equal 100. I'd end up with 10 of these little 10 blocks. Or, now this is one strategy we can use, or we can use operation properties. The property we're going to use here is called the associative property. You could do 2 times 50, and except 50 is really 5 times 10. So I'm going to replace 50 with 5 times 10. Now my whole number sentence says 2 times 5 times 10. According to the associative property of multiplication, I can regroup these however I want. So I'm going to regroup them so it's 2 times 5 times 10. And I will still get the same product. The associative property says the way I group them, the order I multiply them in, doesn't matter. So I just regroup these 2 times 5 times 10. 2 times 5, well that's 10. Still have to multiply by 10, so 10 times 10 equals 100, which is the product I got when I used the strategy drawing the array with base 10 blocks. Let's take a look at another example. 3 times 70. Again, I have the base 10 blocks. I have to do 3 rows, 7 tens in each row. So 3 times 70, 3 groups of 7 tens. It's kind of like 3 groups of 7, and groups of means multiply. 3 times 7 equals 21. If you counted these up, there would be 21 tens here. And notice how our product ends up at 210. It's really like just kind of counting by 10 21 times. You end up getting 210. You just put a 0 on the end almost. Now here is using the associative property. You do 3 times 70. Well, 3 stays. 70 becomes 7 times 10. So it's 3 times 7 times 10. You regroup the 3 times 7. And 3 times 7 is 21 times 10. And 21 times 10 equals 210. Let's look at another example, 9 times 30. This is 9 groups of 3 tens. 9 times 3 tens. Well, 9 times 3 is 27, but it's 27 tens, which really equals 270. Again, 9 rows, 3 tens in each row. So if I count it up, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, I get all the way up to 270. Or we can use the associative property again. And 9 times 30, we replace 30 with 3 times 10. So we have 9 times 3 times 10. We then regroup it. 9 times 3 times 10. Well, 9 times 3 is 27. And 27, we then have to multiply by 10. 27 by 10, you just throw 0 on the end, is 270. So again, our product is 270 for 9 times 30. Here I want you to pause and solve, but we've got to look at this in both ways. We're using strategies based on place value to solve these two problems. We are also using our operation properties, which is called the associative property. That's our learning card. We want to be able to multiply these two numbers both ways. So go ahead, pause the video, do 5 times 40 and 7 times 20, both using an array with base 10 blocks and using our operation properties of the associative property. All right, now I'm going to go through and solve these, so check, see how you did. 5 times 40 is really kind of like 5 times 4 tens, or 10, 20, 30, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40. So here's our 5 groups, and then there's 40 in each one. So 5 times 4 I know is 20, so this would be 20, but I'm counting by 10, so I put a 0. So 5 times 40 is going to equal 200. Now over here, I'm going to regroup this. It's going to be 5 times 4 times 10. And then 5 times 4 is 20 times 10. And 20 times 10, you just put a 0 on the end of the 20. It's going to equal 200. 7 times 20, well, that's basically 7 groups of 2 tens. So I can go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 groups, 2 tens. You notice how I counted up by tens there? I got 140. Because 7 times 2 is 14, but I'm talking about 14 tens. And 14 tens equals 140. Now over here, 7 times 20 is the same thing as 7 times 2 times 10. I can regroup that, 7 times 2 times 10. So it's the same 3 numbers. 7 times 2 is 14, but I still have to multiply by 10. And then 14 times 10, I throw a 0 on the end of the 14, and I get 140. Our learning target. I can multiply one-digit numbers by multiples of 10 using strategies based on place value and operation properties. So you have 2 problems here, 8 times 50 and 2 times 80. I want you to solve them. I want you to draw the place value block arrays like I just did. And I want you to write the breakdown using the associative property. Also, I just modeled that in the last slide. So if you're not sure how to do this, go back and look at how I solved those 2 problems in the last slide. And that's how I want you to solve these 2 on your own.